This video draws heavily from Chapter 11 of the textbook, Strategic Management, by Garth Sloaner, Andrea Shepard, and Joel Podolny. Typically, an industry's life cycle can be characterized by 4 stages. During the first, or emergent stage, the industry is in a period of experimentation and uncertainty. There are generally a lot of competitors with different technological designs, and barriers to entry are relatively low. Firms are experimenting in technology, organizational design, markets, and business strategy. In this stage, it is common for firms to fail. During the second, or growth stage, a consensus on technology emerges. Consensus on the firm organization and strategy also emerges. Innovation is now incremental rather than fundamental. Rather than strategizing about anticipated market conditions, most of the strategy is focused on the current market environment. During the growth stage, the number of competitors decrease and barriers to entry increase. The rapid industry growth can mitigate competition between the remaining companies. Any new entrants are likely to avoid competing directly with existing competitors by focusing on a niche market. The maturity stage is the most stable of the 4 stages. The industry is dominated by a relatively few well-established competitors. Failure rates are high among new entrants. Often the dominant firms are blind to new opportunities. New technology or changes in taste or the number of buyers can bring about industry decline. In this stage, some companies are likely to go out of business. However, firms can miss profit opportunities by exiting too soon or by staying in too long. How an industry is organized generally varies as it moves through its life cycle. Industries can be organized vertically or horizontally. In a vertically organized industry, a single firm orchestrates the overall design, manufacturing, and assembly of the product. The firm may produce its own components. If the components are subcontracted out, the firm maintains control of the architecture of the parts, dictating specific component characteristics. This diagram illustrates a vertically organized bicycle industry with 3 firms. Each firm produces its own components or subcontracts out components to be manufactured to specific specifications for its specific bicycles. Horizontal industry organization contrasts with vertical industry organization. When an industry is horizontally organized, independent firms produce standardized components which an assembler then combines. This diagram roughly illustrates the modern mountain bike industry. The 3 biggest mountain bike companies are Specialized, Trek, and Giant. These 3 companies manufacture some components. However, most of the components are purchased from independent manufacturers. For instance, most derailleurs and shifters are made by either Shimano or SRAM. Any bicycle manufacturer may purchase derailleurs from either Shimano or SRAM. Finally, there are numerous companies that compete in retail sales. Often, the retail companies sell numerous different bicycle brands. A key advantage of horizontal industry organization is increased specialization and competition. When the bicycle industry is vertically organized, each firm has to concern itself with the design and manufacturing of every part. With horizontal organization, Shimano and SRAM each specialize in manufacturing a relatively few components. High quality and low prices are likely if there's a high degree of competition between the companies. A key benefit of vertical industry organization is increased coordination. The traditional PC industry is an example of horizontally organized industry. The traditional PC industry is an example of a horizontally organized industry. A computer assembler like Dell buys its operating system, software, and components from a number of different manufacturers. This gives Dell flexibility when designing computers. Low price and high quality is disciplined to the extent to which there is competition between the companies it can choose from. However, since the various components and software are produced from many different suppliers, the various parts may not be optimized to work with each other. This problem is overcome by Apple's more vertical approach. Apple manufactures its own parts, creates its own operating system, and writes much of its own software. If another firm manufactures a part for Apple, it will likely be making the part custom for just Apple. This gives Apple more control over the overall process so that there is a greater degree of coordination between all the parts. They can be optimized to work better together. During the emergent stage, an industry is usually vertically organized. To see why, consider the bicycle industry in the 1930s. The industry had been decimated by the emergence of the automobile in the early 20th century. In the 1930s, Schwinn launched a new higher-end bicycle designed for recreational riders. Since this was a new type of bicycle, there were no manufacturers of the types of components and frames they needed. They'd have to manufacture their own, or they would have to subcontract the production of parts built to very specific design specifications. Since the emergent stage is a period of technological uncertainty and change, each bicycle firm manufacturing the new higher-end bikes was manufacturing very different parts and was innovating and changing the parts at a rapid pace. This environment makes it prohibitively risky for an independent company to start manufacturing parts without a contract with a specific buyer. However, the external transaction costs for the bicycle firm to search out a producer, negotiate the contract, and enforce the contract are very high due to the technological and market uncertainty. These external transaction costs can be avoided if the firm chooses to make the components themselves, that is, if the firm makes instead of buys. As the industry grows and matures, technological change slows and standards are developed. The stable environment enables independent companies to begin manufacturing and selling components for numerous bicycle producers. It is in the mature bicycle industry today that we observe numerous component manufacturers like Shimano and SRAM producing standardized components that work on virtually any bicycle.